On that strange disarm, what's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. You can call me whatever the hell you want. Greetings, cretins. How are you? Hope everybody's doing good. I most certainly am. In the chat, Imp FPV, Whack FPV, Haxed, It's Darts, Rick Can, Sammy Bull, Frank Nicholas, Adam Cable, Love Drummer, Riot 9, Gary Higgins, Remy Tim, T-Bird, Jafar Zaidi, Halfboard, Massage Smart, and RC Ritter. RC Ritter is broken and tired from West Coast Throwdown. How was it, RC Ritter? I'm sure it was awesome. I really wanted to try to get to FpV. What's up, brother? I really wanted to get to West Coast Throwdown, but lot going on. What's up, Enema? Enema, huh? Enema. That's the YouTube name you went with? Enema? So that I would have to say enema? And now I've said it like a dozen times? Alright, well, touche. This is my... Wait, hey, what are we doing today? We are going to do a little bit of mailbag, which you can kind of see over here. Don't do that. The microphone sits on the table. And then we're going to get started. We're going to do Q&A, as we always do on Sundays. We're going to skip Velocidrone, and we're going to work on the Cinematic Glide. I'm going to take an existing electronics package that I've got from the Prototype 5. I'm going to drop that into a glide frame that I've had sitting here for a while. It's a gloss glide frame. It's beautiful. You guys will see it in a little bit here. June Loco is here. Jafar Zaidi is here. Grumpy's here. Halfboard is here. Yeah. So we're going to do some fun stuff. Hit me with the questions. If you want to talk directly to me in the chat, all you got to do is tag me at CiottiFPV or just type CiottiFPV. You got to spell it right. Or you can do a super chat, or you can do a PayPal. If you'd like to do the PayPal so that YouTube doesn't take 30%, you can do that on over at CiottiFPV.com. It's all the way at the bottom here. It says PayPal. This is my full-time job nowadays. The one thing that you can do that's going to help me out the absolute most is to join the Patreon page. It only costs $3 a month to get on the bottom tier. That is 10 cents a day. I do 10 to 14 hours of live streams a week. I think that's a pretty good deal, you know? 40 plus hours of live streaming a month for $3. That's fair. I think that's very fair. Lots of other amazing benefits over there. Tech articles about tuning, filter tuning, PID tuning, troubleshooting stuff, audio versions of all these live streams, email notifications when I'm streaming, access to a super secret Facebook group with notifications when I'm streaming as well, access to the Discord channel, all kinds of really good stuff going on over the Patreon channel. If you want to do more than $3 a month, I would love that. That's going to put you into the giveaway tiers for $5, $10, $20, and $30. And if you want to be an ultra baller and you want your name to be on the opening screen, you can get into the $42, I should say, or $50 tiers. $50 tier, you get my cell phone number, so you can text me, call me direct for help within reason. And so yeah, lots of good things going on. But I'd love to have you on the Patreon page, even for $3 a month. I really love having as many of you people over there as possible, because I've got a big chunk of like tech data there and testing and stuff that Patreon just makes it easy for me to put that in one spot. And yeah, this live stream from day one was, in my mind, an opportunity to pass along all of the knowledge that I'd picked up in the previous 4+ years of being into this hobby, and get it in front of as many people as possible so that they can then benefit from it and maybe even add to it. So yeah, come along for the ride. We're taking that ride over on Patreon. Don't miss out. YouTube and Instagram links here, of course. Etsy, I've got some stickers and some hardware. Fiverr, I've got some cool stuff going on. Some t-shirts over on Teespring, and Fpv Exchange is a beautiful website I'm going to show you in a second here. These are affiliate links here. These don't cost a thing, and I make 1 to 6% of your entire shopping cart if you remember to hit this affiliate link. Some of you beautiful bastards have changed your bookmarks in your browser to my affiliate links. So every time you hit your bookmark for FPV Cycle, you hit my affiliate link in your bookmarks, and you don't even have to think about it. And yeah, it is super, super, super helpful. FPV Cycle, Amazon, Get FPV, Oh My God, FPV Crate, Banggood, Camera Butter, AliExpress. Those are the sites that have given me affiliate links. If you remember to use them, that's going to help me out a ton, and I'm going to have more money to put into more testing and more stuff to create more content for you guys. So if you can remember to do it, that's amazing. I can't remember to do it very often, my own affiliate links. So if you forget, That's cool. It's all good. I ain't mad at you. Here's the PayPal button again. Here's a link to FPV Therapy, a fantastic Facebook group that I started a little over a year ago for those of us that have mental illness struggles to get together, talk about how we're dealing with it. It's not a spot to post FPV flight edits. It's a spot to share what you've got going on, read the experiences of the rest of us, and be a better human here on planet Earth, where a lot of people got a lot of nasty shit going on in their heads. And yeah, it can be quite a struggle to get through each day. So come on over, learn a little something, and if you're strong enough, add to the discussion. But you don't have to. It's totally fine to just come over and read. Here's a link to the Discord, which you're not going to get full access to until you jump on the Patreon for $3 whole a month. And then here's a link to BattleBots info, which might give you a little laugh. This is the Etsy store. Look at all these beautiful stickers. I have some new sticker designs that I really need to get off my big, fat, lazy ass and get uploaded to this. And here's a bunch of random hardware as well that might help you out with your builds. I do have some extra hardware to add in here as well, but again, it's just trying to find the time. This is my Fiverr page. I'm doing all kinds of cool stuff. Flight instruction, flight coaching. If you want to fly like me, I can definitely help you out with that. I have a long history in motorsport instruction. I spent many years figuring out how to teach drivers to go faster, be safer, have more fun. I've taken that experience and rolled it right over into FPV over the last couple of years. And the students that I've been working with have had an absolute blast. I literally have the pleasure of watching them improve right before my eyes. And, you know, let's be honest, it feels good to fly good. Like, it just does. So if you got a couple extra bucks, I can help you get better. Like, if your path of improvement is going like this as a pilot, I can do a little bit of that. I can break down some concepts and give you some drills and look at your flying and make some suggestions that are gonna really kick you in the ass. It's really easy. Actually, your growth as a pilot is usually like this, right? Like, you'll hit these little plateaus. If you get hung up on a plateau, get an instructor. Like, we would talk about this in motorsports all the time. Like, if you're going to a couple of events and you're not improving on the leaderboards, get an instructor in the car with you. FPV is the same way. If you want to get over one of these plateaus, I can absolutely help you out. So do it, or else. I'm helping you out with tuning as well. If you like the way that my tunes fly, I can certainly get you all set up there. Or if you're just having trouble with a rig, getting it tuned, I can definitely help you out. And then I'm also doing build planning. Basically, I have wasted thousands of dollars catching many different electronics on fire. I can help you not buy those ones so that you don't waste your time or your money. So for 40 bucks or 80 bucks, I can put together with you a build very specifically catered to your needs, with parts that won't catch on fire and parts that will lend themselves to what you're doing with the rig, right? Like, that to me, that's the real big value. Like, there's certain things that you can get that will work really well on a long range rig, but they won't necessarily work well on a basher, for example. And I can help you out with that so that your quad is specifically built for the way that you fly. And then you can fly instead of fucking around with breaking stuff and you know, second guessing and chasing the hype train on every new little thing that comes out and stuff like that. So build planning is something that I really love doing. I really love helping you guys get your rig set up. Doesn't matter what it is. Tiny whoop, 3-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch, beyond 6-inch. I don't have much experience, but anything below 6 inches, and I'm your man. I'm gonna get in trouble for this shit one of these days. I'm gonna go to fucking jail. FinFPV is also, I'm linked up with FinFPV and Remy Tim. FinFPV is doing editing up your flight footage. Remy Tim is doing FPV mentoring. Join us, man. Let us help you out. We want to get you up in the air having more fun. This is my Teespring store. This is a really cool new graphic that CMYK did. There's going to be another two-tone version of this coming soon. Here's a bunch of the other stuff going on, some mugs, some hoodies, all kinds of fun stuff. If there's a color, if there's a style, if there's a logo on one of these shirts that you want to see on another shirt, let me know and I can do that for you. This is just me taking a stab in the dark at what you guys might like. This is Fpv Exchange. If you're not on Fpv Exchange yet, you're an idiot. Go over there or I'm gonna smack you right in the mouth. It's a fantastic website made by Xenakis. Nevin, this is a guy that has supported FPV in a million different ways over the last couple of years, and he continues to do so with his awesome website. So get on over there, show the man some love, and save yourself a couple of dollars, and maybe even sell a bunch of your own stuff. It's a really amazing site yeah, you're missing out if you're not on there, so get on there. Turbo Shill over. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Love Drummer tagged me and said what's up. Gary Higgins says what's up as well. T-Bird says what's up. 3 in a row. June Loco says yo yo what's up. Gary Higgins says what's the best prop. Freestyle 650 grams all up. 2306, 2400 kV. Tired of trying different ones. What's it opinion? In my opinion, Gary, for that all up weight, that motor, less so the motor, but more so that all up weight, for me, it's the Gemfan 5143.3. That propeller has the best mix of efficiency, lightweight, power, and durability. Will that be the exact right propeller for you? I can't say. How frequent you crash, how hard you crash, what you crash into, what kind of runtime you want out of your setups, those are the main things that really those are the things that you need to use to figure out what your perfect prop is. Or just run the Gemfan 5143. It's an amazing propeller. So many like amazing pilots prefer that as their main propeller. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, that's probably the best thing that you could do. Like, with a lot of this stuff, like, we spend all this time going back and forth and testing and trying to find the super secret best thing, and it's like, if the goal is to be a better pilot and to continue to improve your piloting skills, that shit don't matter. Like, having the absolute perfect propeller makes so much less of a difference than just focusing on your flying and just going out and flying. So, like, just pick one. It's hard for me to say this because I feel like this is true like 95% of the time. But then there is that 5% of the time that, like, maybe you are using an old school propeller or that's no good anymore. Not no good, but there's better options. Or maybe you are using drastically the wrong propeller for how often that you crash or whatnot. Hopefully that makes sense. But, you know, that's the 5%. I feel like 95% of the time, we should stop testing stuff. We should stop, we should get the hell off the hype train. We should just run what we brung and just fly. And just pick stuff. Pick a setup of electronics and propeller and frame and buy as many of that setup as we possibly can, right? And just fly. If the juice for you is trying to be a better pilot, right? A lot of people, myself included, enjoy the process of testing. So we want to respect that a little bit. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I guess there's also that... Not I guess. I mean, there is that element of, like, you know, why are you doing this? Like, what's your list? What's your hierarchy of needs? What's at the top? Your piloting skills? Is that, like, the number one thing that you're going for? And that list can change, right? Like, that's totally fine. Like, Like, if I think back 2 years ago, I was hell-bent. That was the top of the list. Top of the list was improving as a pilot. That was the number one thing that I wanted to focus on the most. Today, it's not. Today, that list has moved around, mainly because this is now my full-time job, and if that was at the top of the list, then all of the other, that thing doesn't make me any money, and quite honestly, that thing loses me a lot of money. When I'm pushing really hard to be a better pilot, this becomes a very expensive hobby because I start crashing really hard, and then replacing stuff can get really expensive. So yeah, at any given time, just give some thought to it, right? Just kind of like think through that. All of you guys, I'm not just picking on you, Gary. But yeah, kind of think through that, and then that's gonna sort of affect all those other things. But it's tough, man. It's a really interesting challenge to this hobby, right? Like this hobby has all of these wild like combinations of skills that we need to have, and like, you know, we have to be an electrical engineer, we have to be a pilot, we have to be a camera person, we have to be all of these outrageous things, and then we also need to figure out how to test stuff and figure out how to feel what's placebo and what's not. It's another real big problem when we start to get into this testing of shit, is like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, Gary's question is such a perfect example of this, right? Like, all right, I'm gonna figure out what's the perfect prop for me right now. Where do I start? Okay, so let's make a list. S3, S4, these are all you know, I'm gonna figure out which is the perfect one for me. Here's what I need to test today. S3, S4, S5, F3, F4, 5143, whatever the hell a Zor's freestyle prop is, HQ V2S, HQ's heavier weight 5.1 pitch, like 5.1 inch 3.6 pitch for a really heavy durable prop, Gemfan's heavier weight durable prop, the less pitchy props, the extra pitchy props. Right, and then tomorrow another option's gonna come out, and then a week another option's gonna. It's too much. It's too much. So yeah, I don't know. A lot of people right now are very, very, very happy with the Gemfan 5143, and I have a funny feeling that weight of propeller and that blade profile and that company that's making that prop might have found the best all-arounder. And that's one of the reasons that I've gone all in on that prop, and that is kind of, if I'm not doing testing, that's the 5-inch prop that I fly. That's the prop that I want to put the most possible flight time on to really dial myself into it, because it's the best mix of all those things. And that's how you guys really should be figuring out for you, you know, if you want the right way to find the perfect prop for you, this is how to do it. I'm gonna change I'm gonna add this to the title of this video: how to pick your perfect prop. Because we've talked about this in passing, here and there, but I don't know if I've ever really dug into it like this. Thanks for that question, Gary Higgins. This is a fucking great question, great opportunity for me to go on a little rant about that. But again, keep in mind, if your top priority is being a better pilot, don't spend the minimum amount of time testing. Because testing, here's the other thing that I didn't mention a minute ago. Testing stuff is not a good way to improve your piloting skills. It's actually a good way to make your piloting skills worse. Because when you're doing the testing, your rig is not a known quantity. Your rig is changing. Every time you do another test, every time you test another piece of gear, your rig changes a little bit and you have to adjust your muscle memory, and that's not good. That makes you go backward. You get a little bit better, you get a little bit better, your rig changes and it puts you down a little bit, and now you got to rebuild the muscle memory and relearn the rig, and then you do another test and it puts you back down again. So you want to minimize the amount of time that you spend testing and maximize the amount of time that you spend flying the exact same rig over and over and over and over and over again if you're trying to get better as a pilot. There you go. Whack FPV, he says, what do you recommend for not busting the rear screen on GoPro Heroes? I mean, my solution to that is to fly Session 5s that don't have a back screen. When the Session 5 got discontinued, I switched over to Hero 7s, and it was just a nightmare. The back screen would break constantly, the lens would break all the time, the whole fucking GoPro would break all the time. And it was really nasty. It really made FPV a lot more expensive for me. I was breaking Hero 7s pretty much every flight session, sometimes on the very first battery. So I kind of gave up on Hero 7s. Like, I just apparently crash too hard in a specific way that breaks GoPro Heroes. And I started buying more and more and more Session 5s whenever I could find them on eBay and on wherever, Facebook Marketplace, FPV Exchange. And yeah, I still fly with Session 5s because they're the only camera that survives more than one flight session. And I just can't afford to replace a GoPro Hero every single time I go out and fly. Yes, the replacements only cost me $40 to $50 because I'm here in the US where we have access to Best Buy's Geek Squad physical damage production plan. But yeah, I need my flight sessions to cost less than that, quite frankly. And I crash a lot. One of the reasons I crash a lot is because I push myself to be a better pilot. And if you're really pushing yourself hard, you're gonna crash a lot. It's just a part of it. You can't, at a certain level, like once you get good, basically, once you get to a certain level of good, I guess is more accurate, you have to put the quad into really sketchy situations in order to push it and learn. You just kind of can't fly cautiously at some point if you want to keep improving. And I've been at that point for a while, and yeah. And I've tried to back that off. Like, I've tried to fly safer and not crash so much, and I can do that, but I very specifically see a much slower rate of improvement. Like, if my normal rate, if my rate of improvement crashing all the time and crashing hard is like this, when I fly safe, it's like that. But I don't want that. I want this. So the Session 5s are how I do that. Also, I think that the footage that I get from the quad being lighter with the Session 5s is a lot better. I just prefer the look of the way that a 600 gram rig flies. The best possible explanation of that I can show you guys is the Skyline Lockdown edit that I just put up, which I'm gonna drop some hot soup on here for you guys. It's right here, Skyline Lockdown Ripping. I'll put a link in the chat in a second. Let me just make sure that this pauses. This is a perfect example of how wonderfully floaty and well-balanced a 600 gram 5-inch rig is. And the only way, realistically, to get a 5-inch rig down to 600 grams all up weight is with a Session 5. You just can't do it with a Hero unless you do stuff like pull the battery out of the Hero and run that sketchy-ass little cable connector. And many have tried that setup. Nobody has stuck with it because there's wires hanging out of your GoPro, and you got to remember to hit the stop record button, and like there's all kinds of drawbacks to doing that. It also makes the GoPro Hero a lot weaker to not have a battery in it, and what happens a lot of times is the Hero will like trapezoid, and it just makes the Hero a lot less durable to not have the door on the side and not have the battery inside of it. So again, we're back to, you know, even less durability out of a camera. So yeah, that's how I did it, Whack FPV. I'm certain that that's not the answer that you were looking for, but I don't think that there is an answer. The rear screen on the GoPro is going to get the absolute hell beaten out of it because there's a 160 to 200 gram bomb right behind it, and most of our crashes are nose in. And even with I mean, hopefully you've already got 2 battery straps and grip on your top plate. Other than that, there's really nothing that you can do. All of the GoPro Hero mounts have a pretty thin layer of TPU in the back. Even if that was a thick layer of TPU, I don't think it would really matter. And you don't really want a thick layer of TPU in the back because that's going to be too heavy. So, yeah, just kind of nature of the beast, unfortunately. Remy Tim with a $4.99 super chat. He says, super chat? What's a super chat? Super chat is what you just did, Daniel. Thank you very much for doing it. Kenneth Davis says, cheaper than Netflix and always something new. Very cool, Kenneth. Never thought of it that way. It's true. It's very true. Ruby Tim says, plus discount codes and clearance fines. Very true. Lots of cool stuff going on the Patreon page. I promise it's worth $3 a month. You will not be disappointed. And if you are, fuck you. What an asshole, that's CiottiFPV. What an asshole. June Logo says, CiottiFPV is more entertaining than Josh Bardwell. I'm just saying, LOL. I mean, I'm certainly goofier looking. I most certainly do not have the technical chops that he does, or the stunning good looks. But I'll take the compliment, June Loco. I will take it. I appreciate it, man. 661FPV says, what's up, CiottiFPV and everybody else? Grizz FPV is in the house. What's up, Grizz? How are you, man? He got his first... Grizz FPV has been for a little while, but he just got his GemFan official sponsorship image hosted on GemFan Hobbies Instagram account. So shout out to Grizz FPV. Awesome dude, great pilot. Yeah, it's been... this current like new crop of GemFan sponsored pilots that I'm a part of from the last 6 months, 5-6 months, we've got a little private Instagram, you know, messaging chat thing, and Grizz is pretty active in there, and he's a cool dude. I feel like I've gotten to know him in there. He's yeah, just an awesome guy. Go check him out. GRIZZ space FPV here on YouTube. Go check him out. He's got some great content. Hit him on Instagram as well. He says, CiottiFPV, I got my first Cinesplorer with V3 ducks, going to try the Flash Hobbies that came in the sub 50. Nice. Would the RunCam Hybrid 2 be viable? Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there would be ducts in view. No, there wouldn't be ducts in view. That's an interesting setup. I guess my apprehension is like, why? Because for me, the only reason that I built a Cinewhoop, which was I picked the Cinesplorer, was specifically to carry a GoPro Hero with no props in view safely around people. So to put a RunCam Hybrid in it, you don't get the higher quality of the RunCam Hero of the GoPro Hero. The RunCam Hybrid looks great though. But yeah, I guess I'm questioning why not build just a regular 3-inch rig, like a Ripsqueak with the RunCam Hybrid in it. But you know, there's no reason not to. That's just me, right? I mean, that's just my opinion. But yeah, no reason not to put a RunCam Hybrid in it. You can put 28mm standoffs on it. There aren't going to be any ducts in view. It'll be a super low profile, really lightweight. I mean, it'll fly fucking great. Oh my god, it'll fly so good, not hauling a Hero around. I'm making the assumption that you don't also want to put a GoPro Hero on it. if you do also want to fly it with a GoPro Hero, okay. So here's going to be a problem with putting a RunCam hybrid in it. Here's going to be a legit problem. Getting the memory card in and out is going to be a bastard. Nah, it really isn't. You can put it right there, and you'll be able to put your index finger right in here, and you'll be able to just boop and just kick it right out. Yeah, no, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. The ducts, Cinewhoops, one of the design decisions when making a Cinewhoop is how the hell is the end user going to get access to the USB port on the flight controller to make, to plug into Betaflight. And you can buy, there's a bunch of like 90-degree right angle things, and it's not that big of a deal anymore. But everybody did that a little bit differently. It's one of the things that I don't like about the really heavy Cinewhoops that have one big ass carbon fiber panel up on top here and another one on the bottom. I also think it's just totally needless to have a Cinewhoop that's that heavy and that's that durable, because they only go like 4 miles an hour. But yeah, no, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be able to get the memory card out. I mean, now that I really think about it, if I had put a RunCam hybrid in this one, that would be kind of cool, because if I decided not to run a Hero, just leave the Hero mount empty, I could have a rig that still collected 4K with no props, no ducts in view, no props in view, that was really lightweight. Like, this would fly amazing without 120 grams of Hero 8 in it. 130 grams, I guess, for a Hero 8, although mine's a little bit lightened up. Or if the battery went dead on the Hero, or if I forgot to hit record, I would still have onboard 4K for the client, right? I actually did forget to turn the GoPro on one of the cinematic shoots that I did recently. It was only the very first pass, and it was like a practice pass, but something happened on that pass that was really gnarly, and there's no evidence of it ever. So if there'd been a hybrid in here, I would have at least had the hybrid 4K, which looks pretty damn good. And if like something absolutely one-time, lifetime only event had happened during that battery, I would have had footage of it, where in my case I didn't. It wasn't. It was like, I think I was just running the same path over and over and over again, and I got a really clean run in. I got like my cleanest run of the path in. And then when I came home, when I brought it back at the end of the battery, I was like, fuck yeah, that's the one. And I saw that it wasn't recording. I was like, we gotta do one more, and I had to put another battery up, and I ended up getting another bunch of cracks at it, and got one that was clean enough. So I mean, not the end of the world, but would have been not a bad idea to have a RunCam hybrid in there. Tommy Brickler says, what would cause my motors to spin up on a dive with throttle at 0%? Air mode, Tommy. A combination of air mode and just your PIDs. That's what the PID loop is there to do. Don't think of it as a PID loop. One of the things that I teach in when you guys hire me on Fiverr for tuning or flight instruction is that stop thinking of it as a PID loop, because unless you're an engineer who's worked with PID loops before, PID loop don't mean shit, right? What the fuck is a PID loop? Think of it as error correction. That's what a PID loop is. It's error correction. So you go up really high with your rig and you chop the throttle and it starts to fall. As it's falling, especially if you're next to a building where the wind is swirling and turbulent, as you fall, but just in general, there's always going to be wind, right? You're never, ever, ever flying in perfectly still air. Pretty rare. I guess not never, ever, but as the air moves around the rig, if the rig doesn't make corrections, if the rig doesn't spin the motors up, if the error correction is not on, it's gonna like move around. It's gonna get blown around, right? Like think of like a wing. That's why nobody really, not nobody, but that's why not many people put HD cameras on wings, because it's just all over the place. It makes you sick. So yeah, as it's falling, the only way for it to make corrections to not wobble around is to add thrust. So it's going to add thrust, and it's going to add more thrust, depending on how bad the wind is swirling, depending on how much wind there is. If you're just in the middle of a field, it's going to have to counteract with more and more and more thrust. So that's why the motor is going to ramp up. If the motors do this thing where they continue to ramp up and you get like, and it really goes nuts, that might be a sign that your PID values are a little bit too high, or that you've got some mid-throttle oscillation stuff going on, basically a feedback loop in there, which could be because you don't have enough filtering, or you've got banged up motors, or delaminated arms, or screws that are loose somewhere. Bunch of different things that could cause that. I've got an article over on the Patreon page called, but surrounding troubleshooting motor heat. If you've got, like, you know, I've got hot motors, how do I fix this? And it's just got like a hierarchy of things that you can check. Hot motors are caused by too many vibrations. That's caused by basically a feedback loop starting, and the feedback loop is in the error correction. It's in the PID loop. And that's one of the things that can cause motors to kind of run away and do that like ramp up thing. So if you head over to the Patreon page, up at the top of the Patreon page, there's a button you can hit called Tech Talk. That's going to show you all of the tech articles that I've posted on there. And one of those is around motor heat. You can work through that couple of paragraphs, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs. You can work through that and just start hitting things. I just break it down for you. Check your motor bells, check your arms, check your, and just work through that. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you could find the issue. But all that being said, in some cases, a windy day, or if you're coming down next to a building that has swirling winds, there's really nothing that you can do. The error correction, the PID loop, is doing its job most of the time. Sometimes when it's doing its job, we don't want it to be doing that, but it's the only way, right? If there's turbulent air, if it's coming down through turbulent air, I know you don't want it to run away like that, but if it doesn't run away like that, it's going to start jiggling and joggling all over the damn place, and the footage is going to look like shit. So, you know, it's just part of the game in some cases. Good question. Good questions from all you guys. Empire FPV says, what do you think about the T-Motor 5143s? People have been saying the T-Motor ones are more durable than the GemFan ones. So the T-Motor 413S is definitely less durable than the GemFan 5143-3. That being said, those two propellers, they are not the same propeller. I have a feeling that the T-Motor prop is made by GemFan, but I can't confirm or deny that. Before I jumped on the GemFan 5143-3 train, I was on the T-Motor 5143S train for about a year. That was my preferred prop. I've broken hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those T-Motor props. I know exactly how they crash. And the GemFan 5143-3 is absolutely more durable. It's not a lot more durable, but it's definitely more durable. The T-Motor 5143S is a great propeller. It's a little bit more efficient. It makes a little bit more power. The GemFan 5143-3 is a 36 pitch prop. It's not a 43 pitch prop like the name would lend you to believe. The performance that you get from it mimics that of a 43 pitch prop, I think. I think that's why they named it that. I don't really know. The T-Motor 5143S, I believe, is a true 43 pitch prop. So it's going to give you it's going to give you more power. 43S. Let me take a real quick look and see if if anybody calls out the pitch of this propeller. Pitch is 4.3. So I know it's hard to see, but on Pyrodrone, under the specs, they're calling out that it's a 4.3 pitch, right? This is the T-Motor 5143S. If we search the Gem Fan 5143.3, I don't think that typing worked. Why did it do that? Whatever, we'll just find it. Gem Fan 41. Well, here we go. It's fine. Christmas limited edition. It'll probably have the pitch. Yeah, there we go. Oh nope, it's there. It's wrong. We'll look at it on GemFan's website. If you look up the GemFan 5143.3 on GemFan's website, you'll get the correct pitch measurement, which is 36. Here it is. Is it 36? Yeah, it's 36. So here you go. 35 actually. So there it is. 5143.3, and the pitch is 3.5. What I want to see is on the T-Motor website. So what we just kind of proved is that Pyrodrone does not necessarily have the right pitch numbers. That they've got the pitch listed out on the Christmas 5143 as per the name of the propeller, right? Up until very recently, the name of the propeller was the same as the pitch of the propeller, but not just GemFan, other manufacturers are doing this as well. It's kind of maddening, but I don't make the rules. So here is T-Motor's website, T-Motor 5143S, and they specifically call out in the spec here that it's a 43 pitch. It's also a little bit heavier, 4.1 grams. But again, I did not find this to be more durable. The propeller, the T-Motor propeller is very strong in by the hub. It's very strong in here, very, very strong in here, but it's a lot less durable out here. And what I would have happen a lot is it would crease really badly out here, and I would be able to bend it back and get it somewhat straight, but it was never quite right. And the GemFan 5143s, they just kind of crashed and bent back better. It's hard to put this shit into words sometimes, but just, yeah, that's the best I can do. So yeah, there you go. T-Motor 5143 is going to give you more power, it's a little bit heavier, and it's not going to crash as well. And I have a ton of experience with both of these propellers, so I'm probably one of the... I don't know many people that run those T-Motor props, so I might be the guy that's got the most experience with those, especially when compared to the GemFans. So yeah, there you go. Both great propellers, though. Those are absolutely two of my favorite props for sure. In terms of flight characteristics, other than the power difference, I would be hard pressed to do a blind test between the two of them and to be able to tell a difference. I wouldn't be surprised if I could not tell it. Well, I can hear the difference between the two of them, so you would have to you'd have to put headphones on me so that I couldn't hear them. But yeah, if you put headphones on me with some music, I'll bet that I couldn't feel the difference between those propellers other than the power difference. But yeah, both good props. MPFPV says, what do you think of the T-Motor? We just did that. Bob Noxious says, hey Collective and CiottiFPV. Remy Tim says, you're starting to sound like Mr. Steele with this talk of pick something and stick with it. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Haveboard says, yes, placebo, CiottiFPV, exactly. EEDoc says, have you had a chance to try the GemFan 5226? I have, EEDoc. You can definitely tell that they're a little bit bigger. The rigs feel a little bit more floaty on them. For me, with a very lightweight 5-inch rig at 600-ish grams all up, I don't like it. It becomes a little bit too floaty. The point of these 5226 and 5236s, which are the new Gemfan props that Kebab had made, the point, in my opinion, is a lot of people's rigs are getting fatter and fatter and fatter because they're putting DJI on them and Heroes, and you know, we're up into like the 700 plus gram range. Those rigs are what these 5.2 inch props are for, in my opinion, because it's going to give you a little bit of that floatiness back that you lost when you started putting all this extra heavy stuff on your rig. They're a great propeller. They're fantastic. They're just not for me. I'm actually at the moment playing around with going down in prop size to like a 4.9. I'm flying a bunch of 4.9 inch props because again, my rigs are very lightweight, so it stands to reason that possibly a 4.9 inch propeller in tandem with that light all up weight is the correct amount of disc loading, or the way that I teach and think about the ratio of prop size to all up weight is it's the size of the parachute. When you come off the throttle, the props are still spinning and they act as a parachute. So every time you come off the throttle, how big is your parachute is how big are your propellers. So if you're at 600 grams all up weight and you've got 4.9 inch propellers, that's your ratio of the size of the parachute to the weight of the rig. That's gonna adjust how quickly your rig falls and how quickly it gets to the ground. One of the way, and when I watch my footage back, when I watch my freestyle footage back, I pay really close attention to every single time that I do like a big inverted flip and just let it hang off throttle. If I come down and smack the ground, I pay attention to that. And if I keep smacking the ground over and over and over again, that means my rig is falling too quickly. This is what happened to me when my build started to creep up in weight to 650, 660, 670, 680 grams all up weight. I started to notice that I would hammer into the ground. I had an expectation of how long I wanted the rig to hang, how much hang time I wanted, and that expectation is now gone because the rig is fatter on the same size of a propeller. It was at that point that I started to really figure out how the hell to build. That was around the point where I found the glide frame, which helped a lot because it's lightweight. That was back when I was flying the CL1 frame and the couple other ones. But yeah, so that there's food for thought. That's, in my opinion, how you should choose between a 4.9 inch prop, a 5 inch prop, a 5.1 inch prop, and now a 5.2 inch prop. Pick how big of a parachute you want, because that's the size of the propeller. Size of the propeller is the size of the parachute. Size of the propeller is also going to affect your efficiency. If efficiency is important to you and you want more efficiency, a bigger propeller is pretty much always going to be more efficient. For me, though, the diameter of the prop is 1-to-1 with the size of the parachute. That's how I pick the diameter. That's the most important thing to me when it comes to the diameter of the prop. And yeah, when all these manufacturers went from 5 inch to 5.1 inch, I didn't really think about it. I was like, oh, an extra 0.1, it's whatever. And I just didn't. So it's cool. I'm happy now that I kind of had that thought a month or two ago, and I'm playing around a little bit with. So far, I haven't tested it enough to really be able to tell, to be completely honest, which is fucking maddening, but that's a lot of the testing in this hobby, right? We talked about this a minute ago. There's such subtlety in a lot of this stuff that, you can go out and do 2 or 3 fly days of testing, and if you're honest with yourself, and if you continue to A-B it, a lot of times you're gonna have to deal with the cold hard fact that you didn't learn shit. That, like, the difference was too subtle for you to tell. And it's at that point that you can, you know, keep going. Because I feel like eventually you'll be able to tell a difference, but, you know, I always want to try to tell the difference right away because, again, testing is not good. Testing fucks up your muscle memory. So I get a little frustrated when I can't figure out the results of the test quickly. But, you know, if you want to be really good, sometimes you gotta put the fucking work in. So you gotta keep going. You know, you gotta bring somebody with you. You gotta tell them, hey, I need you to blind plug this in. Because, you know, when you just change the propellers out from one to the other, you know which propeller you're about to fly, and that's gonna affect your brain. So yeah, if you're running into that placebo, if you're running into that confirmation bias, it helps at that point to take it up a notch. And hey, can you come fly with me? Hey, now that we're out here flying, I need you to either pretend or give them the quad with no props on it, and say, hey, I need you to put a set of I need to put either this or this set of propellers on here. I need you to plug it in over there. You got to make sure the front propellers are the same color, right? And that's how you can get a true blind test. And then you got to focus on other things like how many batteries do you put in? Like for me, it doesn't work to fly one battery, change the props, fly another battery, change the props, fly another battery, change the props. I have to fly 4 or 5 or 6 batteries in a row when I'm testing things that are very close to one another, very subtle. The difference is subtle, I should say. Yeah, I have to put a bunch of batteries in on one and then change, so that I'm like locked in, I'm dialed, I'm used to how it flies on the T-motor props, and then my second to last or third to last battery of the day, I switch it over to the GemFan 5143s, and hopefully now I can feel the difference. And you also just have to be like methodical about it. You gotta be a fucking, you know, we gotta be scientists on top of everything else, right? We gotta like sometimes like kind of make a hypothesis and then like kind of make up a testing methodology and then carry that testing methodology out, trying to avoid, again, placebo and confirmation bias. Just one of the many joys of FPV. Luckily, you're not alone. You're not alone. We're all going through this shit. So, you know, just throw it all out the window. Don't do any testing. Pick what your favorite pilot flies and just fly that. And you'll probably be way happier and you can just focus on being a better pilot. Let us jackasses deal with the testing and just close your eyes and point to one. Because, again, the differences between these things are very subtle. For me, the testing makes really good content. And I do enjoy the testing. I do enjoy the challenge of testing. Forcing myself to work through placebo, to work through confirmation bias is cool. I'm fascinated by those aspects of the human brain. So yeah, I get something out of that. But there's also a big part of me that's like, stop. Just go fly. Just go have fun. Just go get better as a pilot. So, Z Corrales is in the chat. He says, I think pilots and promoters like you need to be aware that elevation, air density plays such a big role. I live in Colorado, and 4.66 is right. Very true. Z brings up a really good point. I could definitely tell a difference when I moved from Charleston, which is at sea level, to here in Atlanta, that's 1,000 feet above sea level. And 1,000 feet ain't shit, right? Z is in Colorado. He's probably at like 16,000 feet, maybe. I could be totally wrong, but I mean, there's parts of the Earth that are like tens of thousands of feet above sea level, and the air is much thinner at that elevation. This is why on one hand, I'm like, yeah, just pick, but on the other hand, I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, but you've got to have your little set of testing parameters. And yeah, if you want to find your perfect prop, or fuck it, just pick one and fly it. It's really evident with propellers. It's funny too. I'm very used to that from motorsport with tires. Propellers are the one thing that will have the most impact on the way that your rig flies, and they're also the cheapest thing. Tires on your race car are the one thing on the race car that makes the most difference, and they're the cheapest thing that you can change on a race car to test. It's a really all of you motorsport fools that have gotten into motorsports where you turn the steering wheel know exactly what I'm saying right now. Yeah, and it makes sense, right? Because the tires, the propellers are where the mechanical system interacts with the real world. So it totally makes sense that that's going to be the thing that has a huge impact on performance. So on one hand, yeah, I mean, if you're going to test something, test propellers. I will never recommend that you guys spend any appreciable amount of time trying to figure out like head-to-head testing flight controllers or like ESCs or like even like to some extent frames. If you're gonna do some time, if you're gonna spend some time testing, test batteries, motors, and props, in my opinion. Really good point, Z. Very, very good point. Huff19 says, have you ever got into a place where different props meet your mood, skill set on a given day? Like sometimes 5147s are just fine, but some days 5136s feel better. I had that theory for a while, Huff. I had this theory of like, okay, when I fly a big spot, I'm going to fly a more pitchy propeller. When I fly a smaller spot, I'm going to fly a lower pitch propeller. I think, to piggyback off of Z's comment, I think it makes much more sense to put that into elevation. If you're going on a flying gig 16,000 feet above sea level, run a more pitchy propeller. That's not true, I just lied to you guys. I would rather not actually do that. Because the problem with doing that is the more pitchy propellers are heavier. And a heavier propeller is going to change your PID loop's performance. So motor limiting is actually the answer there. This is one of the things that I really love about motor limiting, is that if you go up is that you can pick your propeller. For me, it's the Gemfan 51433. If I go to a bigger spot, I just turn my power up with motor limiting. If I go 16,000 feet above sea level, I just turn my power up. PID loop is still, the timing of the PID loop is still the same because the weight of the propeller is the same. We're just changing the max RPM, which is going to give us more thrust. So yeah, motor limiting is the answer. When you run a different propeller, the weight changes, and that's going to drastically shift stuff around. And you could even make the argument here that motor limiting does affect the PIDs. This would be a good argument for throttle cut. And we've had this conversation before. Realistically, motor limiting is what you want to use if you're going to run, for example, 2400 kV motors on 6S. You have to motor limit that down to pull down the PIDs, and you're going to pull it all the way down to like 70%. Otherwise, you're going to have just too much PID activity. Too much. The PID loop will have too much power available to it. We've talked about in the past how we should probably be using both motor limiting and a little bit of a throttle cut. I should probably be using a throttle cut, come to think of it, rather than motor limiting. But see, I like the way the PIDs run at like 90%. That's a conversation for a different day. I don't necessarily want to dive into that conversation. We're over an hour in. I haven't done mailbag yet. I haven't touched any of the rigs yet. That's a good conversation topic, though. Throttle cut versus motor limiting. Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow night. If one of you guys remembers to mention it, and I'll put it into the title of the stream tomorrow night. Somebody got me on that one. Word FPV. Wow, I am behind. Whoa, I'm almost an hour behind. Okay, I'm gonna rip through these chats, and then we're gonna come over here and do some stuff, and I'm gonna wrap this thing up. My throat is being weird again. I can already feel my voice starting to go. So I'm gonna bring it down a little bit for you guys. Try to talk a little quieter. I'll lower my head. That'll make it easier for me to talk quieter. Save my voice. Word FPV says, love the 5143.3 everyday freestyle, liking the 5226 when doing a little bit of smoother stuff. Interesting. That's pretty cool. Yeah, flying smoother stuff, typically you want more runtime. The 5.2 will definitely give you more runtime. Kevin says, I have Brother Hobby 1504.5 3950, first for a 3-inch build, but no, I want to use them on my AOS 3.5. Would you recommend them, or which one did you take? In my opinion, those motors are going to be a little bit too small for a 3.5-inch prop. I really like the X-Nova 1804 on a 3.5-inch prop. That's what's on my, I don't know where it is, but that's what's on my 250 build, and it's beautiful. If it sounds like you already have those 1504.5s, and they're a great motor, and they're probably just about big enough for the 3.5s, but if you're buying motors, don't buy those motors. If you're buying motors for a 3.5-inch build, buy the 1804 X-Novas in the highest KV that they have available. They are a perfect match for 3.5-inch props. Word FPV says, fuck, YouTube did the thing. Scrolling back up. There it is. He says, big ups on those flights where you're parked outside the parking garage. Love, love, love it. Parked outside the parking garage. Parked outside the parking garage. So which ones are those? Word FPV. Word FPV, tag me again. Copy and paste your comment and add more to it. I'm not sure which flights those are. Z says 6-inch props are needed for any cinematic setups with a Hero 9. I can kind of see where you're coming from there. My cinematic setup for a Hero 8, which is almost as heavy as the Hero 9, I went the 6-inch route, didn't like them, brought it down to 5.5-inch, liked those a lot, and now I have it all the way down on 5.1-inch, and I actually like it the most on 5-inch. Cinematic setups don't necessarily have to have big runtime. Mine is a perfect example of that. My cinematic rig, this one here, is meant to go fast and have really good performance, not have a lot of runtime. So the 5-inch props work really, really well for that, as do the 5.5s. But that being said, it does help to have extra runtime on cinematic setups. But it's not like a dead set requirement. So, yeah. Grizz FPV says, I plan on a Hero ASAP, just don't have the funds for it at the moment. Gotcha, Grizz. Yeah, no reason not to put a hybrid in there. We talked at length about that. Paulie Lee FPV says, afternoon. Banshee Frenzy says, I'm on Patreon and I can't find anything on your Patreon except for the audio versions of the show. What are you looking for, Banshee? I'm confused because you said you can't find anything other than the audio versions. There's all kinds of stuff on there. When you load the Patreon page, up on the top, there's going to be like tags. One of the tags is going to be live streams. Another tag is going to be audio. Another tag is going to be tech talk. When you hit those tags, it sorts the million posts that I have on my Patreon page by those tags that I manually type in each time I post. So if you're only seeing audio then you must have hit that tag to only show the audio tags. So just refresh the page, that'll wipe that tag that you've hit out, it'll show you everything. And then you can start going through those tags to look at all the other stuff that I've tagged the posts on there with. Remy Tim says, a quad on the ground with no props on will spool up because it grows to 100% air because of a lack of props means lack of authority. Lots of beginners see motors spool up on the bench and freak out. Yeah, very, very true. Daniel, was that in reference to the person that said that the motors were spinning up when they were diving? Or are you... I think you posted that at 3:45. I think maybe we were talking about that 20-ish minutes ago. Yeah, very, very true. For anybody that doesn't know, when you don't have propellers on your quad, it's very confused because the PID loop is designed to correct error. So when error builds up and there's no propellers on it, it can't correct the error. So it's gonna just gonna work harder and harder and harder to try to correct the error, and the motor's gonna ramp up more and more and more and more. Totally normal, totally natural. It's just the way it works. Kenneth Davis says, wouldn't that be 51,350? I'm not sure what we were talking about at the time. 51,350. 350. Kenneth Davis, do me a favor, tag me again. I don't know what your comment means. Wouldn't that be 51,350? I don't remember what we were talking about at 3:47. This is what sucks about getting backed up on the chat, but I'm a ranty son of a bitch. Bobby Bag says, what's up? Building another 533 Switchback Pro to add to the race fleet and watching CiottiFPV. Very cool, Bobby Bags. Bobby Bags also says that the T-motor props break off blades for him. That's interesting. That is not a problem that I ever had with those T-motor props. Mainly because of how strong that they are in here. They're like incredibly strong in here. The connection between the prop blade and the hub is real beefy. Really, really, really beefy. It's one of my favorite things about those. I'm kind of shocked that you're breaking whole blades off. That's interesting. DJ CJX says, what's up? Kenneth Davis with a $5 super chat. Very cool. Appreciate it, brother. He says, do props get more flexible as they get used? Haven't had to replace my HQ props in a while, but they seem more flexible now. They do, Kenneth. They do. That's something that, man, a long time ago, I remember reading about that. Like 3, maybe 4 years ago, I remember somebody noticing that. Might have been an RC Groups thread. That's how long ago this was. Somebody noticed that, and they tested it. They flew a set of propellers for a whole bunch of batteries, didn't crash them, and I think they like taped the rig down, and then they took a camera and they went into another room and they fired it up, and you can see the props deflect up when you go to full throttle, and then they took a fresh set of props and they put it on the rig, and then they gave it full throttle, and the props that had been used for a while visibly deflected more and became more flexible, which makes sense, right? Like, we're putting a shitload of energy into these props, so yeah, that is absolutely true. I crash so often that I'm constantly changing propellers that I've never really noticed it, but you're dead on the money, brother. That absolutely does happen. Once you put a bunch of batteries, less how many batteries you've put through them, more how much full throttle you've put into them. See what I'm saying? Catch my drift on that one. If you're flying long range and you just go out at 30% throttle all the time, you're not, I'll bet you that you're not putting enough energy into the props to, although maybe, because they are bending, but I'll bet you that going full throttle a lot is gonna wear the prop. You know what I'm saying? June Loco says, you guys remember the BBB motors that GemFan used to make? So GemFan never made those motors. It kind of seemed like they did. BBB is a separate entity from GemFan, and they're still around, actually. And yeah, maybe at some point you'll see more BBB motor content on this channel, is a thing that I could say without letting any secrets go. Bob Noxious says, what about 4-plays? Ever try those? I have. I've tried all of the 4-blade props. When I'm off throttle, they're too grippy. So when I do like big off throttle throws, they don't carry as much, and I don't like that. And also when I corner, they're too grippy in the corners. They're also very inefficient. So yeah, to me they're like a novelty prop. But if they match, if you put those propellers, so E-Rod has moved over to those props, and I love that. Like, that's one of the great things about propeller testing, is you might find a propeller that you fucking love, and it might be an oddball propeller, and that's great. If there's just something about your flying style that this propeller brings out and looks better in the footage, it feels better, whatever, go do it. Don't, that's the flip side of pick your favorite pilot, pick the prop that they run, and just fly. That's a justification for spending time on the testing. Michael Blade FPV says, hey bro, what's up? He also says, what do you think about the HQ Juicy Prop J37? Yeah, I saw some of the pictures of the prototypes. I don't know. I don't know. I wish that these companies would make less new propellers. It's too much. It's too much. The hype train is too strong. I'm sure they'll be great, but I'm also sure that they'll be only a 0.5% different than any other propeller. You know what I mean? We're at a point where so much development has been done on propellers that there are no big gains left, which is why I kind of keep going back to this, like, just pick one and stick with it, because like, it's going between a 3-blade and a 4-blade. That's a different story. That could potentially make you a better pilot, or just connect with you better, I should say. The difference between a Gemfan F4 and an HQ S4, same weight, same pitch. If you think you feel a difference between those two, you're lying to yourself. Or you're a way better pilot than I am. Placebo, man. Lots and lots of placebo. But if you enjoy testing, and if you enjoy buying the newest, hottest thing, didn't do it. Because, it's a hobby. Hobbies are supposed to be fun. But just understand that you're going to fuck up your muscle memory, right? When you do that testing. Always keep that in mind. Paul McDonald says, so would a higher elevation equal higher pitch as a rule of thumb, or for less air density? Sort of, Paul. But again, the problem with that is the higher pitch props are heavier, and that affects the PID loop's performance. It also affects the filter. No, it doesn't. It just affects the PID loop performance, because the PID loop is based on time. Those are time adjustments that you're making. But that being said, so yeah, the right way to do it is by getting a motor that's a little bit higher of a kV that you need, and then throttle cap or motor limit it down, and then when you go to the higher elevation, you ramp the RPM up. That's the best way to do it. If you can't do it that way, you can do it with pitch. So yeah, you're dead on the money, Paul. But again, the better way of doing it is with RPM. Raccoon FPV says, what's a good 5.1 inch prop? I'm looking for 4.3 inch prop by 3. My favorite is the my favorite is the Gemfan 5143.3, but there's a lot of good ones out there, and they're all very, very, very similar. So, YouTube just did the thing again. Scrolling back up. RC Ritter says, what is the best way to keep a consistent throttle position between rigs? Throttle curve, RC Ritter. And that's actually, it's worth spending the time to do that. Throttle curve either in your rate screen in Betaflight, or you can also do it in OpenTX. Yeah, that's the way to do it. You can also do it mechanically by using different propellers, by using different motors, but the best way to do it is in OpenTX or in the rate screen. That's a good question right there. That's actually something that I've been spending more time thinking about this year. Word FPV says, you recently posted the video I'm talking about. It looked like you were parked just outside of the parking garage entrance. Oh, yeah. The cross building spot where it's the 4 buildings and it's like if you look down from it above, it'd be like a big plus symbol, and there's a bunch of trees and it was really tight. Yeah, that's a crazy spot. That's one of the more difficult spots I've ever flown. That's a brutal spot. But yeah, that flying looks good. Soma the Champ says, what do you think of H7 flight controllers? Are they practical for racers and freestyle pilots? Are they practical? I don't know if I'd call them practical. The only reason to get an H7 flight controller is to future-proof yourself. H7 flight controller is not going to do it's not going to be any different from an F7 flight controller. Until Betaflight releases a version, maybe 4.4, maybe 4.5, maybe 4.6, that gets to the limit of the F7 processor's processing speed. So yeah, today, H7 flight controllers are a complete waste of money, unless you're gonna not break it for long enough that Betaflight exceeds the capabilities of the F7s. That's probably not going to be for quite some time, and the gyros on flight controllers take a hell of a beating and do fail. So I don't usually recommend spending $20, $30, $40 more for an H7 flight controller to future-proof yourself, because by the time the software catches up and can benefit from that extra power, processing power, that flight controller is fucked. The gyro on there is wrecked. The gyros they don't last forever. If you crash hard, they really don't last forever. So yeah, H7, the H7 flight controllers are 100% at the moment marketing hype, mainly because of Flight 1. It's one of the things I really don't like about Flight 1 is they just spend so much effort on the hype train and marketing. And a lot of people waste a lot of money on shit that has no performance benefit because of it. That's capitalism on one hand, but you know, spend more time on your flight software because it's a mess, yo, and spend more time not ripping off your sponsored pilots, Preston. And not just your sponsored pilots, but everyone, all of your customers. Jesus Christ. 661FPV says, motor spinning up while diving is I-term accumulation. Lower I-term and try again. Comment on whoops and cinewhoops when they crank up I-term a lot. Good call, 661. I forgot about that. Yeah, it definitely has to do with I-term as well. I-term is the slow term. It can certainly have to do with P-term as well, which is what I was talking about before. Well, I guess before I was just saying it was PID loop related. But yeah, it's a combination of P and I-term for sure. I'm actually going to start playing around with less I-term. Mark Spatz last weekend, I want to say, on one of his live streams was talking about how Betaflight has gone pretty aggressive on I-term nowadays. So I'm actually going to try backing my I-terms off a little bit on pretty much all of my rigs. Every time I plug a rig in, I'm going to try to remember to kick some I-term out of it. And/or when I go out and fly, I'm going to go into the OSD and start pulling the I-term down. Adam Cable says, what's your favorite 65mm whoop? It's a custom build. It's a newbie drone cockroach canopy, frame and canopy, and the V1 newbie drone AIO, which is impossible to find, and then Happy Model or tinywhoop.com 0802 The Tiny Whoop motors are 24,000 kV. The Happy models are 25,000 kV. They're both great. That's my favorite 65 mil Whoop setup. Nobody builds that setup, so you got to custom build it. But it is fire. Bob Noxious says, I mess with them, the foreplays, and see what you're saying too. Very cool. Paulie Lee says, did you test the GemFan Freestyle 3S or 4S? I did not, but I did spend a bunch of time on the F3 and F4, and I liked them, but I don't love them as much as the 5143s. They're very, very similar to the HQ S3 and S4, but they're a little bit more durable, and they make a little bit more thrust, and they're a little bit more efficient, which they're a little bit more durable now because they're a little bit heavier. More efficient and more thrust is almost always what happens on a GemFan prop when you compare it to an HQ prop. HQ uses an older, less sophisticated blade profile, and that comes out in efficiency and the amount of thrust. You can literally hear it. If you have two identical rigs and you put one on you know, an equivalent GemFan prop and the other one on an equivalent HQ prop, you can hear that the GemFan prop is more like wispy in the air and it's quieter, whereas the HQ props are more grindy and more like, you can just hear it. They just sound less efficient. HQ propellers just sound less efficient, and they are. Yeah, they use a very, not very, but just a more old school prop blade profile. The hell of a live stream, Jesus. A lot of really good questions from you guys. Go-Kart Mozart says, most important things to consider when buying props, are they on sale, and do they have my color in stock? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the other thing. Because the differences between all of these props are so subtle, buy the ones that are on sale. They're in your favorite color. And that may very well make you happy enough that you will fly better. Like, I shit you not. I'm not kidding at all, right? I'm not kidding at all. And especially, like, if you're paying less for them because they're on sale, in theory, you'll buy more, and that'll allow you to fly harder because you'll have a big-ass bag of props, and you'll be like, well, I gotta get through these, so I better push hard. The joys of the human brain. RC Ritter says that you should get some manufacturer to make your spec Whoop. I'd buy a few. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. But I mean, Newbie Drone would have to make it. Happy Models quality control is just horrendous. And Newbie Drone just did make the V3. One of my specs for my spec Whoop is an MPU 6000 gyro. And Newbie Drone tried their asses off to get their hands on some MPU 6000 gyros for their V3, and they couldn't. So the Newbie Drone V3 AIO that just came out is as close, like today, right, where MPU 6000s have been discontinued for over a year. Yeah, that's it. The Newbie Drone's kind of already making it. But in a perfect world, it would be that with the MPU 6000 gyro. That new V3 Newbie Drone AIO it's as good as I think that we're going to ever get, maybe. I just lied to you guys. iFlight. iFlight just came out with an AIO. And I think it might have an MPU 6000 on it. And it ticks all of the other boxes. I don't know if it ticks the durability box because it's brand new. Where the hell did I see it? But yeah, there is a new 1S Tiny Whoop AIO on the scene. And it again, it ticks a lot of the boxes. Where the hell did I see it? I'm pretty sure I saw it on Pyro. Did you guys do you guys know, has anybody seen this? The new iFlight Tiny Whoop AIO? pretty sure I saw it on here. Beta FPV also made a new one, but fuck them. I've had such a hard time with Beta FPV AIOs. I'm just done. I'm done. I'm absolutely done with them. Just not doing it anymore. Here it is. I think this is it. Maybe? Yeah. This is it. Oh, I didn't notice this. It's got a pin headered. I don't like that. I don't like that. I did not notice that. Well, fuck. It is an MPU 6000 though. I mean, this board, I'm assuming that this is the this is the VTX up on top. This is a small enough PCB where there's a chance that the fact that it's pin headered won't matter and it'll still be durable. But I don't know. So this is exciting because it uses the regular motor plugs. So you can buy this AIO, drop it into a cockroach frame, plug in the Happy Model 0802 25,000s or the Tiny Whoop 0802 24,000s and have a ripper of a Cinewhoop. It's a Tiny Whoop. It's got the USB port properly set up there, pointing down. It's got the sides cut out here to save a little bit of weight, which they then added that weight to this top board. So there's a chance that that this is going to be really good. I also just noticed that it's got this plug header here. This is not good. This is not going to package well. Having this plug header here like this is not great. And it doesn't look like you can remove. Maybe there's pads under that plug header. Maybe you can break that plug header off. This is going to be a nightmare to get this to clear a canopy. I can almost guarantee you this is not going to clear the Newbie Drone canopy, which is my favorite canopy, because it allows you to use their Insta360 Go 2 mount. Yeah, so this is a good attempt, but finding a canopy that works with this, I have a feeling is going to be a bitch. We just can't win, man. We just can't. We can't win. Oh, so here's the other thing. This has the VTX that goes up to 200 milliwatts, and it also has pads for an external receiver. Those are the main boxes that I've been yelling and screaming and hoping that somebody would make an AIO to tick all those boxes. I thought this was the one, and it ain't. Unless the canopy that you want to run will somehow clear this asinine VTX setup. This is the problem right here. This is the problem. This plug header being right on top of this hole is terrible, because you're then gonna have to plug. You're gonna have to plug another plug in here, and then like. I don't know. 661 saying the Happy Model ELRS AIO FTF. I can't do the Happy Model thing. Their electronics are just such a hot mess. Just constant reports of their electronics failing. It's just, I'm just not into it. Although I guess with a Tiny Whoop, it's kind of like, ooh, whatever. You just unplug the motors, take it out. But I'm just done with electronic components just failing for no reason. God, it just makes me so fucking angry. 661 also says, have you tried the nightly Betaflight configured at 10.8? I have not. I'm guessing yes, because you need it for 4.3. It's really cool. Motor mapping wizard is crazy cool. Nah, you don't need it for 4.3. It helps for 4.3, but you don't technically need it. I haven't checked it out yet. I have heard a while ago, actually, they were talking about the motor mapping wizard, how amazing it was, so that'll be neat. I haven't had to motor map in a while, though. Alright, we're caught up on chat, and it's only been an hour and 35 minutes. So it's time for... Mail, motherfucker! Got a little package. I did an order with BMC 3D, my favorite of the 3D printing companies, and Brent very kindly threw in a bunch of extra stuff. I ordered one Chaos Purple Hero 8 30-degree glide mount to replace the one that's at the bottom of the sea, and he threw in a second one, which is super awesome. I messaged him, I said, hey, can you set it up so that I can use the jello guards in it? And he said absolutely. So that's what he did up front here. I like his mounts because they have a latch, which makes getting the Hero 8 in and out a lot easier. This is the Brain 3D mount. Let me bring you guys over to the bench cam. So yeah, this is the BMC 3D mount. And again, this just makes it easier to get the Hero 8 in and out. This is the Brain 3D mount. It doesn't have that. It's very difficult to get the Hero 8 into this thing. It's not impossible, and it's fine. It's still a really good mount. But the other thing that I like is the extra protection up on top with the BMC 3D mount, whereas with the Brain 3D mount, you've just got a lot less TPU if you crash inverted, right? If you hit like this, there's a lot less TPU there. There's a lot more TPU here to try to save your Hero 8. And I've never had this latch ever open up. Even if this latch does open up, there's a lot of retention. There's plenty of retention here to make sure that the Hero 8 doesn't fall out of this damn thing. So yeah, this is rad. This is definitely gonna be my preferred Hero 8 mount. I also ordered a replacement red Session 5 glide mount because mine has been melted back together so many times that it's just disgusting. And he threw in a Chaos Purple one, which is super awesome. So yeah, I guess I'll make one of these glides into a Chaos Purple glide, which will be pretty neat. This is a really cool TPU color. So this is purple. This is considered purple Sane Smart TPU. This is Chaos Purple here, the new Sane Smart TPU, and this is violet. Chaos Purple is pretty close to the violet. It's way closer to the violet than it is to the purple, but it's kind of in between. Man, that's hard to see on the camera. It's pretty close. This violet is the most blue, and it's the darkest. Chaos Purple is somewhere in between, and then purple is actually more of a pink. So yeah, I really like this violet, but the Chaos Purple's cool too. I don't know if I'll next time I order something made out of TPU, I probably won't get it in Chaos Purple. I'll probably get it in the violet. I really like the violet. It's just a really deep, rich purple color. It's got like a lot of blue to it, and I just think it looks really cool. But yeah, shout out to BMC3D, and he also threw in a whole bunch of his straps. I love his straps because they're very lightweight. They have the plastic buckles on them, so they're basically the lightest weight battery straps that you can run, and they're the right length. They're the perfect length. I run these both as battery straps, and I also run them on these front load Hero 5 mounts to cinch the front of the mount down, to really make sure that the GoPro Session ain't coming out. The Session is not going to come out because of these flaps that he does anyway, but this is just an extra little level. And also when I crash inverted, it chews up the battery strap rather than chewing up the TPU. I've chewed this TPU up so badly that it reduces its ability to kind of like protect against crashes. I don't know. I like having the extra battery strap up front, and because it's a plastic buckle, it's nice and lightweight. So you're only sacrificing like 1 point something grams. So yeah, finding these battery straps with plastic buckles nowadays is actually getting really hard. It's kind of annoying. So yeah, massive shout out to Brent from BMC3D for hooking a brother up. These came at a good time because one of these is going on the cinematic glide build, which begins right meow. It was gonna be a FETEC build, but no. Just say no, in my opinion, to FETEC. So here is the prototype 5. Less about FETEC, less about saying no to FETEC, more about saying no to KISS. KISS is just old flight firmware. There's just no reason to run it. Betaflight is just way better in pretty much every way. So yeah, that's basically what I'm getting at there. June Loco says Flywoo came out with a 1S AIO too. Oh. Maybe that was the one I was looking at? Maybe that, that sounds familiar. I think you might be onto something there, June Loco. I think that might have been what I was looking at. Where's it at, June Loco? Do you happen to know? Flywoo 1S AIO. Let's just see if Google can find it. Is this it? That ain't it. That's for a toothpick. Right? Oh no, it's got the USB port sticking up. Let's see. Although it's got these. Nah, this is for a toothpick. See these little protrusions? That's gonna hit a cockroach frame. That ain't gonna work. New products. Let's see if it's in here. I love how these manufacturers, like, they come out with a new product, and a lot of the times, they won't get it onto their website before it gets onto all the reseller websites. I think this is it. This is it. 250 milliwatt VTX. OSD, of course. This is the one that I saw. This is the one that I saw the other day that I got really excited about. So, the question is it an MPU 6000 gyro? It is. I'll be damned. So, MPU 6000 gyro, normal motor plugs. Oh boy, no motor plugs. It's still not the one. It's still not the one. It's a lot less expensive than the Newbie Drone AIO, which is interesting, but I would rather have the Newbie Drone AIO. I would rather spend $20 extra on the Newbie Drone AIO. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. It depends. If the Newbie Drone V3 gyro is okay, then I would rather get that. If it's more noisy than the MPU 6000 that you can get on this, then I would rather have this. What scares me about this is these motor pads are tiny. The motor pads on the Newbie Drone AIO are a lot bigger. This is an interesting choice, though. This is really cool. Man, they squeeze a lot of pads onto here. Jesus. This is good, man. This is really exciting. My God, do I wish they had put motor plugs on it. The reason that they didn't put motor plugs on it is they didn't have space. Because they put all these pads on here. They've got... Look how many pads they have on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 pads, ground, 4.5 volt, S-bus, R1, T1, battery plus, battery ground, 3.3 volt, buzzer positive, buzzer negative, camera 5 volt, ground, SCL, SCA, I forget what those mean, LED 5 volt, ground, another 5 volt, R2, T2, and then God knows what these pads are up the middle. Oh, and there's through holes here too. Oh, those are for the battery leads. My God. That's an insane number of pads that they put on this thing. Is there not a single picture of the bottom of the damn thing? There's not. They don't have a single image. Oh, there's the bottom. There's the bottom. They didn't put any pads on the bottom. They put all the chips on the bottom. And then the motor. Oh, that's cool. The motor pads are both top and bottom. That's really smart. That's really, really smart that they put the motor pads top and bottom. This is a really interesting choice. This is, for some people, this is the answer. For some people, this is the Tiny Whoop AIO. This is the one to have. It might be full on the best one to have. If the Newbie Drone V3 gyro is no good, or at least not as good as an MPU 6000, then this is the one. This is cool. We're very lucky to have this. Thank you, Flywoo, for listening to and figuring out what people actually want. That's pretty cool. 250 milliwatt onboard VTX. Perfect. Onboard D8, but also pads to run an external receiver. Big thumbs up. Only 1S compatible, but the Newbie Drone V1 overheats on 2S, so it's only 1S compatible anyway. Realistically, I guess unless you get it into like a toothpick where it's got more airflow, maybe. Massage Smart says, "I love his straps." That's what she says. Thanks for the laugh here, as always. You're certainly welcome. Frank Nicholas says, "Plastic buckle battery straps, 220 for 99 cents. Heli Direct." Ooh, good find, Frank. Heli Direct, nice, very cool. Good find, Frank. Although, are these ones 220? These ones might be 240. Let me see. 220 is the right size for the smaller batteries. Yeah, so these are 240. These at 240 are perfect for the session mount. The 220s are perfect for battery straps, but these are perfect for the session mounts. The session mount is a little bit thicker than the batteries that I run. These at 240 would also be better for like a 6S. If any of you guys are running a 6S 1300 or a 6S 1500, 240 is what you want. 220, it'll work, but you don't get quite as much engagement from the Velcro, and it just kind of, it's probably fine, but when you start running through 10, 15, 20 batteries per flight session, quicker than I'd like, the Velcro wears out, and then I'm lazy about changing battery straps, and that winds up with batteries getting thrown, which is no good. But yeah, these exist, and 4 of them for $1 is a really good deal. So that's a good. Anybody that Frank dropped the link in the chat. Very cool. Here's what they look like. I haven't been sharing my screen like a dummy. RC Raider says, thoughts on the Darwin 1S. I don't even know what that is. What's a Darwin 1S? This is gonna be a weird Google search. Yeah, it's not gonna find it. Ooh, it looks like it did. Looks like a toothpick board. Where's a picture of the bottom? No, it's got the USB facing up. So you could run this in a Tiny Whoop frame. What is line going around it? So, no motor plugs, which is annoying. Although, no, they have the, you can put motor plugs on here. You'd have to solder them in, but that's fine. Kind of annoying that they put this capacitor on from the factory, because on a tiny whoop you're going to have to remove that. This fucking thing goes up to 3S? Good lord. 15 amp. MPU 6000. Oh, no onboard VTX, I'll bet. Would be my deal breaker. I'll bet you there's no onboard VTX. Yeah, no onboard VTX. So for a tiny whoop, you've got to run an external VTX and an external receiver, and that sucks. That's hard to package in a tiny whoop, and it also makes a tiny whoop a little bit too heavy, in my opinion. So yeah, this is more of a toothpick AIO 1S. This would be great for a 1S toothpick though, like a little baby tooth action, which I might be playing around with. I was talking about that the other day. If I can find a toothpick Insta360 Go mount that gets the props out of you. Bobby Bag says the plastic battery straps don't break for you. Eventually, yes, but man, they take a hell of a lot of abuse. And if you're gonna run these thin, lightweight battery straps, you got to run double battery straps. You should be running double battery straps anyway, because a single, even like a really strong single battery strap, you can still hit in a way that the battery twists and throws. So for me, double battery straps is an absolute must, and I will break the plastic battery straps maybe like once a month. Like once a month I'll have one let go, but what's nice is it lets go, but it doesn't throw the battery. I get in the crash, I fly it back home, and when I'm taking the battery off, I'll notice that one of the plastic buckles is broken, swap it out, good to go. The weight savings is real. It's like a 5 or 4 gram weight savings running these plastic battery straps. It could be even more than that, because some of these battery straps with the metal buckles are like shockingly heavy. So yeah, it's a legit weight savings, and they're plenty. They're just durable enough, basically, I guess is what I could say. Cool. So we're just gonna organize this build, basically, and I'm gonna show off this beautiful gloss glide frame. So this is the prototype 5 that I built in order to just kind of check out this frame and test it. I prefer the glide frame, but this is a perfectly good electronics package. This is also me testing the Acon F7 30x30, which performed beautifully, and it's got a fresh set of T-Motor F40 Pro 4s on it. So we're going to pull it out of this frame. This frame will go into the giveaways, and we're going to put it into a gorgeous gloss. Bob did a very limited run of this like epoxy dipped gloss glide frame. It's the old school X plate down here. It's the old school base plate, but this is a cinematic build that I'm not going to smash the shit out of, so I should be totally fine. And I even have a set of gloss dead cat arms for this damn thing. And since this is a cinematic build, having the dead cat arms is a big deal. I might even build this damn thing with the dead cat arms to force myself to not fly this fucking thing freestyle. Because with the dead cat arms, it's just not a great freestyle setup. So I don't know, we'll see about that. But so yeah, we're gonna kind of dig into this. This shouldn't be too bad of a build because we're taking an existing electronics package and just moving it over. I know that I'm gonna have to put race wires on the front. I'm gonna have to shorten up the race wires in the rear here, but that's not too big of a deal. I think that the capacitor might just clear. The electronics package, the wires are a little bit unnecessarily long, but whatever. I don't know what I'm gonna do about. I'm tempted to build this thing not on 15s, to build this thing on 25mm standoffs, so that I can run this 30x30 ESC and 30x30 flight controller, rather than my normal setup, which is 30x30 ESC and a 20x20 flight controller up front. Again, this is a cinematic build, so the main reason that I went down to 15mm standoffs on all my freestyle glide builds is for durability. As a cinematic build, durability is not that big of a deal, or a deal at all. Like, kind of, you could argue, like, who cares about durability at all on a cinematic build? It still does matter. You don't want your cinematic rigs to be fragile, and then, you know, because you'll crash every once in a while on a cinematic gig. But yeah, I think I'm very tempted to leave this electronic stack alone, and yeah, rock the 30x30 stack. And you're kind of witnessing me talking myself into it right now, and I think I might have just done that. So yeah, let's let me empty this bag out the rest of the way here. What else do I have in here? A little bit of this. Oh, here's where the little neochrome prop nuts went. That's fun. For some reason, there's an Acon AK-32 in there. That's weird. But I'll put this back in the workbench where it belongs. Oh, TBS Unify Evo. Well, I already have this on here, so this is going to end up in the giveaways, I think. What else is in this little bag? Oh, cool. Yeah, I was thinking about building this in green. For some reason, I have a green session. Oh no, this is a cinematic build. It's gonna be purple. So yeah, we're gonna ditch the green stuff. That's fine. That's totally fine. Okay. So what's interesting about this too, if I build this with the taller standoffs, at some point it would make it easier to put this thing onto DJI possibly. And as a cinematic build, it would kind of make sense to go DJI with this first, for the same reason that I did that with the other thing. This is a full Fat Tech electronic setup. I think this is going to make its way into a giveaway. RC Ritter with a $5 super chat. Some gas for the Mazda 2. Thank you, brother. Let me add you on in here. If you guys ever want to add to the gear fund, you just got to do what RC Ritter did and just call it out. There we go, 1855 out of 4,500. Thank you, brother. Pilot Carbon says, that is shiny. I know, right? So, okay, yeah, I think that, yeah, the story behind the Mazda 2 fund, RC Ritter, is that my ex-wife, Kristen, doesn't really want it anymore. She just finished paying it off. We've been paying it off for a long time, 4 or 5 years now. It's finally paid off. She has moved to downtown Atlanta, and the roads are kind of rough, and she also lives in an area that's kind of walkable, and she's just doesn't leave her apartment much. So yeah, like, she can survive without a car at all. So it's looking like I'm gonna buy it from her, and I put a post up on M2O, which is Mazda 2 online. It's like the big spot where all Mazda 2 owners hang out. And when I listed out the mods and shit, I was like, you know, what's a fair price? And everybody said between $4,000 and $5,000. So I told her, you know, how's 4,500 sound? And she said that's fine. So yeah, I just need to come up with the scratch, and I will buy that off of her, and my car pain in the ass woes will be somewhat solved. I'm sure at that exact same moment the Miata will be finished, and I'll go from having no cars to having 2 cars. But the Miata needs to get sold, more than likely. So that'll kind of fix that problem. But for right now, let's pull apart. So let's do that. We're gonna finish the stream by pulling apart this Prototype 5. That's a good spot to kind of end, and then we'll get the actual build started on realistically Wednesday, because Monday night is gonna be. We'll do it Monday night. Yeah, we can dig into this Monday. Dig into the actual build on Monday. That works. Workbench is about to get busy. Yes, it is, Bobby Bags. The Mazda 2 is manual. Manual transmission is a 100% requirement for me. I will not own a car without it. If at some point there is a chance that I would kind of love at some point to get a Honda Pilot, and I don't think they made those in manual, but yeah. So that would be like the only way that you would really see me in a non-manual shift car. I doubt that I'll ever buy a Honda Pilot, but they're really cool. I really dig the Honda Pilots. The way that the doors open, the way that you can hose the interior out, and the fact that the fucking thing is called a Honda Pilot, and I can just put like FPV above the word pilot on the back deck. Like, come on now. You can't tell me that wouldn't be the most satisfying thing. Yeah. There's probably 1 or 2 other SUV-ish thing, like a Mazda CX-3 or a Mazda CX-5. I don't know. If I start doing more camping, or if I do end up moving to Portland, and you know, a more off-roady thing becomes realistic, never know. Never say never. But in terms of a car, yeah. I mean, I ain't buying a car that's not manual. It's just. That's just silly. Is this stripped? Is that what's going on here? I think this plastic nut is stripped out. No, it's fine. Why wasn't the driver... That was weird. That was very weird. Yeah, manual forever. There's a there's a really cool Facebook page called TMGPS, the Manual Gear Shift Preservation Fund, or Preservation Society. I've been meaning to get one of their t-shirts. Manual transmission forever, yo. I will forever buy used cars to be able to get a manual trans. Because at some point, manufacturers across the board, I mean, many manufacturers have fully moved away from manual transmissions. Porsche, you fucking douchebag. No, I guess not. I guess there are Porsches that you can get in manual. It's just maybe the 911s, I think, that they moved fully away from it, but I think you can still get manual Boxsters and Caymans, and that's the Porsche that you want, really. Jesus, I really put a bunch of welder on top of these screw heads to keep those nuts from backing off. That's what she said. Is it not? What is this in here for? Get these out. Get these out of here. Okay. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's just me being a lunatic. There we go. So let's get all these guys out of here. This is a cool frame. I'm impressed by this Prototype 5 frame. It's nice. It's not for me, but it's a really nice frame. I dig it. Just not the one for me, and that's okay. So let me crack these guys, and then I'll just come in with the Weeha rather, and zip them on out. FpV says we need electric cars with simulated manual transmission. I mean, they could put an actual manual transmission in them. I mean, that's kind of the thing with manuals. You wouldn't be able to simulate it. The allure of manual transmissions is the mechanical connection and the tactile feedback that comes from that manual connection of either a cable clutch or a hydraulic clutch, and the feeling that interface between the clutch plate, the pressure plate, the clutch disc, the pressure plate, and the flywheel, right? So you feel that physical sensation in your left foot, and then you also get the tactile feedback through your right hand of the dog rings and or synchronizers interacting with the gear faces, and you can't simulate that, right? But what's interesting about you saying that is that the level of immersion that I get from driving simulators using an H-pattern gear shift, which is a simulated gear shift, right? You don't get any feel in your left foot, you don't get any actual feel in your right hand, but it is a way more immersive experience to have that. So actually you're right, because an electric car with a faked clutch and a fake gear shift would, for me at least, give me more of a driving experience. It wouldn't be as good of a driving experience as a real, of course, right? Clutch and trans, but it's interesting. Yeah, it would definitely be more immersive. I would not be surprised if one of these manufacturers did that. I really would not be surprised. Frank Nicholas calling out that most electric cars have enough RPM and the motors are in the hubs, so they don't need a transmission. Very, very true. Not all, but yeah, most. Frank's right, most of them are. I think I saw the word most in there. Yeah, kind of sad. Not sad. I mean, it's just the way the electric motors work. They produce enough RPM, and can be stepped up with a single gear. But usually they're right on the hubs. Usually they're connected directly to the either the carrier or the half. I guess they would be half shafts. Maybe they don't. Well, yeah, I guess they need. Yeah, they would have to have a half shaft because they have to have U joints to allow articulation. You don't want the electric motor to move up and down with the wheel. I don't think, because that would be a huge amount of unsprung mass. I want to actually look that up. I'm curious as to how they do that. I assume that they have to do it with a half shaft. Let me back off of the incredibly in the weeds nerdy car talk, because I'm probably losing a lot of you guys that aren't deep into cars. What else are you guys talking about? Yeah, me too, Levi. Levi says I agree 100%. I've always driven stick, even to my driving test at 16. Yeah, I took my driving test on my very first car, which was an '87 Mustang that was a manual. The test instructor person was like, "Really? You're gonna do this in a manual car?" I was like, "Well, I mean, it's the only car I have. I ain't rich like you fancy New Jersey people." And yeah, it was fine because I'd been driving that car, so I knew how to drive it. I did get they let you get like one thing wrong in your driving test in New Jersey, and I actually got one thing wrong. When I went to do the parallel parking, the cones were like really close to the road, and I didn't want to hit the cones, so I put the left tires on the double yellow, and they gave me like one minor fault for that, and then I parallel parked perfectly, and they were like, yeah, you should have basically hit the cones, is what he said to me. But there was enough room. There was just enough room. It's just, you know, your knowledge of where the right front of corner of the car is very difficult to build. There are ways to build it, but yeah, it's very difficult to know where the right side of the car is. I used to spend a lot of time instructing drivers and trying to figure out ways to, because that's a big part of autocross. Autocross is a game of inches, and in order for it to be a game of inches, you have to know exactly how far, exactly where your tires sit, so that you can get your tires right up on the bottom lip of the cone, to run the shortest line possible. And yeah, so you spend. I spent a lot of time as an instructor trying to figure out how to teach people to do different things to learn that outside of the events. One of the challenges of being an autocross instructor is that the runs are very short, typically less than 1 minute, and in most regions you don't get more than 6 or 7 or 8 runs per event. So you just don't get much time to practice. So as an instructor, I just didn't get a lot of time in the cars with these people. So I chose to try to figure out drills that they could do in traffic to practice some of these concepts. And that ended up being the best way to get my students to improve, was to give them stuff that they could work on during the week. When they're just driving to work, because you can repeat those things hundreds and hundreds of times, whereas then you come out to an autocross event and you've got 8 minutes to practice, right? And you're also trying to hold on for dear life. You're not just practicing, you're also trying to do all of the other things: drive fast, not die, not pee your pants, all that stuff. Pile of Carbon says, here in Sweden you're not allowed to drive manual if you take your test in automatic, so everyone who are able to drive manual. That's pretty cool. I love that. That's the most Sweden thing I've heard. That's the most Swedish thing I've heard all day. That's with a lot of Swedish stuff, a lot of things, like, basically what I mean by that is like logical. Like a lot of stuff from Sweden, it's like, oh yeah, well that makes an awful lot of sense. Why the hell doesn't there's just a lot of stuff in Swedish culture that's like, oh look, something very thought out that makes a lot of sense, that, you know, cranky bitchy people are probably like, no, it hasn't been like that, so I don't like to be fear change. Meh. Yeah, I don't know. Or I'm just a crazy person. That's a definite option. So there we go. Arms are removed, base plate is almost out of here, and my voice is almost completely burned. Par for the course for a live stream. Get a couple more of these pieces of hardware out of here. We'll get this carbon completely out, and then I'm going to call it for this live stream here on Workbench Sunday Q&A. Petio Patterson says, my bum is on the Swedish. I'm very confused by that statement. I'm not going to think too hard about it and run the risk of pulling a muscle. BeepTube says, I went from a manual 240 to a manual Nissan Frontier. Wow, Nissan Frontiers they made in manual? That's pretty dope. I would love to get, like, if I do go the SUV route someday, I would really love for it to be manual. That would really make me feel better about driving an SUV. if it's at least manual. Oh, we're good. Okay, this is cool. Oh, I gotta get the camera out of here as well. That's fine. Okay. Let's release these camera cage bolts here real quick so that the camera can come free. Alright, perfect. We got that. Pile of Carbon says, stuff here is logical and pragmatic to a fault. Yeah, it's funny you say to a fault, because I've heard that. I've heard that about Sweden. It's like, yeah, it's great and all, but like sometimes it's a bit fucking much. like there is such a thing as overthinking, and I have definitely heard that from people who I've met in the course of my career that have lived in and or been born in Sweden. The main complaint that I hear is that it's impossible to make any actual money. Which is why those people that I've met ended up moving to America, land of making lots of money and pushing everyone else down. Not always, but you know, a lot of the times. Wish we had some of your crazy architecture. Every building here is a box that may or may not be from IKEA. Yeah, it's interesting to see, like, in different cultures, like, what you lose, right? It's like, oh, let's be very logical. Okay. Oh, hey, we want to make a beautiful architectural building, but it's going to cost $10 million extra dollars. No, that's not very logical. Don't do that. Okay, we won't. And everything looks like a goddamn box. And it's, you know, it's like, where do you draw the line, right? Like, I kind of believe that, I believe that we need to have some, I don't know how the fuck this would be done, but I think that there should be some sort of like a limit on marketing budgets for companies. Maybe like, I don't know, $10 per, I'm just saying $10 pretty much at random, but like, you've got a company with 100 employees, figure out the number that's a logical marketing budget, and like set a limit, right? $10 per employee. You got a company with, that's way too low. $100 per employee. You got a company with 10 employees, you can spend $1,000 a month, I don't know, on marketing. And that way it scales, right? So a big company like Amazon can spend a good amount of money on marketing, but it prevents, I think, in theory, it prevents this runaway train of marketing budgets that can be kind of destructive. Like on one hand, some really phenomenal art comes out of marketing, which is great, but man, marketing can get really out of hand really fast, and it really doesn't seem like a good thing. Really, really doesn't in a lot of cases. So I don't know, I feel like some sort of a cap would make sense. Or maybe not. Ruby Tim says the new Ford Broncos have a manual option. No shit. Man, I really like them. Could have been a Tom Green reference, 661 FPV. I used to be a big Tom Green fan. Freddy Got Fingered, in my opinion, was way ahead of its time, and is a way better film than it gets credit for. I don't think it gets any credit, to be honest. And I haven't rewatched it in a long time, so maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, the new Bronco is pretty cool. I hate that they call the traction control goat modes, just because the word goat is kind of a ugly word, and it's just like, I get it, go over all terrain, like I get it, but I don't know. Just the word goat is kind of harsh. It's a weird word. I really don't like the way the new Broncos look when they don't have a fifth wheel and tire on the back. the rear end of the car is real ugly without that extra wheel and tire, which is kind of annoying because like having a full size wheel and tire on the back is just a big old chunk of weight for no real reason. We've got Fix-A-Flat nowadays, which works incredibly well, and or nice lightweight space saver spares, but I digress. It's an SUV, it's going to get asshole gas mileage anyway, so might as well make it look cool. They're expensive though, aren't they? What do the new Broncos cost? I think they're really expensive. There's an FPV question. 661 says, best motor for a 1S 75mm Rube, still 8003 or 8002 or 0802 or 1102. I did not like it on 1102s. It's definitely not good on an 0802. Loved it on an 0803. Loved it. I'm firmly convinced that 0803 22,000 kV is the perfect motor and kV setup for a 1S 75mm Whoop. BeepTube says, Tom Green's YouTube channel has some good content. Kind of a pioneer of podcasting live streaming. No shit, I did not know that. Go-Kart Mozart says, weren't Roper weren't stupid enough yet to understand Freddy got fingered. They are now, really? That's funny. Oh, people. I thought you were referring to didn't Siskel and Ebert become Ebert and Roper? Isn't somebody named Roper involved with Siskel and Ebert because one of them died, I think? That's what I thought you were referring to. But yeah, that statement works with people as well. I don't know. I could be wrong though. I haven't rewatched it. Sometimes I'll rewatch a movie like 5 years after it comes out, and I'll be like, wow, this is ahead of its time. But then I'll watch it another 5 years later, and I'm like, nope. It's the humor is stale. Humor is like that, man. Shows can be timeless, and then like other shows that I would think would be timeless are anything but. Kind of interesting how that works. But what's really interesting is like I'll talk to people about that, other people that have rewatched it, and almost all the time they'll agree. Almost all the time, if I talk to somebody about a show not holding up, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I had the same experience with it," which is kind of cool. And there we have it, boys and girls. The squid is free. And that means that we are going to wrap this live stream up. So all of the Prototype 5 carbon is off. I'm going to put it in a bag, and it is going to go into the giveaway pile for a 5-inch giveaway, which is run every other Monday on the Patreon. The $5 a month tier, the $10 a month tier, the $20 a month tier, and up all have giveaways, bi-weekly giveaways. So if you're on the Patreon at the $3 tier and you want to get on some cool giveaways, maybe for that Prototype 5 frame, now you know. Just gotta bump your tier up. Go over there. I have it all explained, and you can get it done. Look at that little fancy fella. Look at that fancy little squid posing. Here, we'll put him into full. I have to kind of like fake it, but we'll put it into full little man. Oh, he's upside down. Hold on. There you guys go. He's even got a little dick with the capacitor. Oh, he's got one big capacitor ball, and he's got a XT60 dick. There we go. Whee! Well, I tried. I'm still trying. Come on. Let me do this. Right, we'll just do that. There you go. Alright, guys. I'm gonna rest my voice. Actually, gonna take a nap. That's what I'm gonna do. I've not gotten much sleep over the last couple of days. Believe me, I am not That is not a complaint. But yeah, I gotta get a little bit of sleep here. Ruby Tim says Broncos range from 30 to 70. Oh man, yeah, that's a lot of money. Beep Soup says especially stand-up comedy. Yeah, very true. Especially because stand-up comics keep like raping people, and or saying horrible things, horribly racist things. A lot of comedy loses its context over time, and it just doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's totally what it is. That's totally what it is. Dan Richmond says, installed first GPS on a 5-inch. It was easy, works great. Helped my confidence to go farther than before. I mounted it on a TPU battery strap. I know you will do it soon. Thank you for the reminder. I have mine right here on TPU, and this is going on this rig. Thank you for the reminder. All right, we're good to go. Caught up on chat, I think. 661 says, where do I buy 0803 motors? I can't find them. I don't know, 661. My 0803s are prototypes from T-Motor. I actually have to start looking around. 661, if you're on this adventure for 0803 motors, can you do me a favor and let me know what you find? Because these prototype motors are the bell's starting to slip, so I need to replace these at some point, and I've been meaning to look for 0803s, but I just haven't had the time. So if you're going into that adventure and you don't mind, do me a favor, let me know what you find. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, boys and girls. CiottiFPV.com to support me. Click some buttons down here, thumbs up, leave a comment, hang out in the chat, all the good things, bell, subscribe. Check out my new edit on YouTube, it's dope. Ripping up and down the IHG building in downtown Atlanta during lockdown a year ago. It was pouring out. I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern. Here's a little bit of flying from the stables. Give you a little bit of music on top. Later, boys.
Get out of my mind, never feel so